Have you ever just stopped and wondered what chemical is actually behind love and trust? I mean, really think about it for a second. Are the butterflies of a new romance, or a mother's fierce, undeniable, protective instinct toward her newborn purely just fleeting emotions? Or is there a biological master conductor orchestrating these profound feelings right behind the scenes?
Well, welcome to today's explainer. I am so incredibly excited to guide you through this because today we're taking a definitive journey from the brain to the heart to completely demystify oxytocin. Our goal here is to bridge the gap between its highly clinical, literally life-saving biological functions and its heavily romanticized reputation as the ultimate love hormone. We're going to see exactly how one tiny chemical dictates so much of our human experience. Here is the quick roadmap for our journey today. First, what is oxytocin? Second, we'll track it from the brain to the body. Third, we'll look at labor and lactation. Fourth, love and social bonding. And finally, number 5, its medical uses and cautions. Okay, let's dive right in. Section 1. What exactly is oxytocin? So, according to the scientific literature, oxytocin is fundamentally a neuropeptide. And get this, it's made up of just 9 little amino acids. It's tiny. But despite its small size, it leads a pretty crazy double life. It acts as both a hormone flowing right through your bloodstream to trigger physical reactions in your body, and as a neurotransmitter, speeding up communication within your brain's neural pathways. It's also what we call an evolutionarily conserved chemical, meaning it has been with us for a very, very long time. And it's absolutely vital for everything from managing labor to keeping our emotions balanced. To really appreciate it, we kind of have to look back at its history. Picture this. It's 1906, and a scientist named Sir Henry Dale coins the term oxytocin. That actually comes from Greek words meaning swift birth. Why? Because he noticed that extracts from the pituitary gland caused intense, rapid uterine contractions in pregnant cats. Fast forward a few decades to 1953, and a scientist named Vincent Duvigneau achieves a massive breakthrough. He successfully sequenced and artificially synthesized oxytocin in a lab. This was such a monumental leap in biochemistry that it actually won him the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1955. Moving right along to Section 2, brain to the body. Where is it actually made? It's basically a 3-step journey. Step 1. Oxytocin originates deep within the brain. It's produced by these specialized cells called magnocellular neurons, right in the paraventricular nucleus of the hypothalamus. Step 2. Once it's made, it travels down the nerve fibers to be stored in the posterior pituitary gland. And step 3, it doesn't just leak out randomly. It waits for very specific electrical signals. When those signals hit, boom, it's released into the bloodstream in these powerful intermittent bursts to do its job. Now you might be wondering, how does it just sit safely stored in the pituitary without degrading or misfiring? Enter neurophysin. Think of neurophysin as a specialized VIP escort protein. Inside the posterior pituitary, oxytocin binds super tightly to this neurophysin inside large, dense core vesicles, specifically within these structures known as herring bodies. It literally just sits there, perfectly packaged, until crucial moments of nervous system stimulation trigger something called cellular excitosis, which is just a fancy way of saying the cell pushes the active hormone out into the blood. Which brings us to Section 3, labor and lactation, the mechanical power of oxytocin. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details, it really helps to compare the two completely distinct worlds of oxytocin. On one hand, you have its intense mechanical role, the sheer involuntary physical forces it exerts on the body's muscles during childbirth and milk letdown. And then on the completely opposite hand, you have its behavioral role, the really subtle psychological effects it has on the mind, fostering feelings of empathy, deep trust, and affection. Let's focus on those crazy mechanical forces first. During the actual process of labor, oxytocin is an absolute powerhouse. It binds to very specific receptors in the uterine muscle cells, causing this massive influx of calcium. This stimulates the intense, rhythmic uterine contractions that stretch the cervix and safely push the baby through the birth canal. But its vital mechanical job isn't over when the baby arrives. Immediately post-delivery, oxytocin forces the uterus to contract rapidly, clamping down on blood vessels to stop postpartum bleeding. That is a truly life-saving function. Plus, for infant nourishment, it triggers the milk letdown reflex. It literally contracts the breast tissue to force milk down toward the nipple. Okay, let's shift gears a bit for Section 4, love and social bonding. This is how it shapes our connections. I absolutely love this quote from the research. It says, when the next time you feel romantic butterfly in stomachs, better to think about oxytocin, right? It is so true. Research shows that during the first 6 months of a new romantic attachment, levels of this love hormone remain persistently high in our bloodstream. And this goes for both men and women. This chemical surge is exactly what facilitates sociosexual behavior, deep empathy, and long-term pair bonding. When oxytocin interacts with the dopamine pathways in your brain, it quite literally makes romance and physical affection feel incredibly satisfying and rewarding. But wait, how exactly does a chemical physically create trust? Well, it does a neat little neurological trick. Oxytocin literally inhibits the amygdala, which, if you didn't know, is the brain's primary center for fear, anxiety, and behavioral control. By actively suppressing this specific area, oxytocin reduces our natural risk aversion. It lowers our guard. This biological dampening of fear is the exact mechanism that allows us to be vulnerable, to actually build trust, and to form those profound maternal or romantic bonds without our brains just constantly sounding the alarm.
For our final segment, we've got to pivot back to clinical reality. Section 5, Medical Uses and Cautions. In modern medicine, synthetic versions of this hormone, often known by brand names like Pitocin or Syntetonin, are used as high-risk, life-saving drugs. The clinical applications are incredibly specific. Doctors will use IV drips of synthetic oxytocin to induce or safely accelerate labor when a mother's natural progression stalls out. As we mentioned earlier, it's also the frontline defense for controlling severe postpartum hemorrhage, literally saving mothers' lives by stopping the bleeding. And it's also utilized to assist in safely clearing the uterus during incomplete abortions.
But, and this is a massive but, the cautions here are severe. Because oxytocin is such a potent contractor of smooth muscle, it is strictly a hospital-grade drug. It is absolutely never, ever for home use. It must be administered via a highly controlled IV drip with continuous monitoring of the mother's contractions and the fetal heart rate. Why? Because the side effects of incorrect dosing can be catastrophic. It can trigger tachycardia, a dangerously rapid heart rate. Because its molecular structure is so similar to another hormone called vasopressin, high doses can cause the body to retain way too much fluid, leading to water intoxication. And most critically, during labor, overstimulating the uterus can cause severe fetal distress by cutting off oxygen to the baby, or even lead to a fatal uterine rupture. Respecting its power is simply non-negotiable in obstetrics. So we arrive at the end of our explainer with a lingering thought. The next time you implicitly trust someone, or the next time you feel that warm rush of love, or look at a child with just absolute devotion, ask yourself, is it purely your own unique emotion, or are you feeling the biological magic of oxytocin at work? We love to think of our deepest human connections as pure poetry, but it is truly fascinating to know there's a 9-amino acid master conductor behind the scenes making the whole shebang possible. Keep learning, keep wondering, and we will see you in the next explainer.
Thank you so much for visiting my YouTube channel and my unofficial biology on Facebook page. Thank you.